Hello and welcome. My name is Zita Harkaran. This is Sadhana and Books. Today I'm talking about Carl Jung, the psychology of Kundalini Yoga. This was written in 1932, so almost 100 years ago, before Kundalini Yoga came to the West in this big flood of information. So it's very interesting to note, what did Carl Jung learn? How did he understand it? And maybe you can learn something new. I understand why he became such a famous writer and psychologist and was able to help so many people, because he has a really good quality of being able to explain something in a way that you understand it. So he's a great teacher, but he writes it very beautifully. He's not just going to inundate you with like big words. He brings it down to earth. He brings it down to experience. He did not write a book on Kundalini Yoga. These are just 4 lectures that he gave to enthusiasts of the Eastern tradition at that time. Like beginning of 20th century really saw an inflow of even yogis, but really information from the East. And people were really into it, studying it. And even from these lectures, you can see that these students know the terms, know the Sanskrit terms. And they're just, so these students were kind of looking for clarification. In the introduction by Sonu Shamdasani, the editor mentions that Kundalini Yoga stands against or on opposite side of traditions like Hindu or Buddhist, which are much more ascetic and are much more mind oriented. And but Kundalini Yoga is really and the tantric traditions are looking into the body and seeing from the body what we can learn about life. And influencing the body, we can then influence our consciousness. This is like our our contact with the Mother Goddess and our contact with the old traditions, the old religions that were matriarchal, that were connected with nature, were not trying to escape into some kind of idealistic realms. They try to live with the situation that is offered to us right now, with the earth and with the material world that we have. This is what he says. Tantrism was anti-aesthetic, anti-speculative, and represented a transgressive counter-current to mainstream Hinduism. It rejected the prevalent caste system, represented transvaluation of values. In Tantrism, there was a celebration of the body, which was seen as a microcosm of the universe. And then later on they said, for the first time in the spiritual history of Aryan India, the great goddess acquires predominant position. We also recognize a sort of religious rediscovery of the mystery of woman. This is what Kundalini Yoga represents. And one more interesting fact about that is that through the body, when you have the experience through the body, you just have it. You don't have to make it into abstract thought or knowledge. You just have it and you live your life by it, and your life is better. So if you do practice Kundalini Yoga, you have wisdom. Maybe you're not writing books. Maybe you are not teaching, but that wisdom is already within you and you act according to it. So it's very incredibly practical. Most of our life is not directed by ideas as we think. It is really directed and driven by the deep impulses that are within us. And some of them are actually unconscious or subconscious. We sometimes follow certain paths or interests, don't even know why. They are very authentic to us and very specific to us. Other people don't have the same interests as us that drive us, but then you find yourself in a completely different space than someone else. So we do need to understand that it is the material, it is something deeply within us that is guiding us. Through yogic practices, we can then elevate it to the higher level, not push it down, which is what the society is kind of telling us to do. Right? The first lecture opens up with this idea that whole life strives for individuation, for right? So presenting itself, as its specific, unique, special self. Doesn't mean it has to be completely creative or completely different. And that's why we have these love and hate relationships. We resist something. And this is an absolutely great point that Jung brings up, is that when we resist something, when we don't like how someone is speaking or acting, it is just us not liking it. That's what we have to realize. That it is, oh, I don't like this. That's not how I want to act. Because I am a different person and I wouldn't act like that. That is individuation, right? The other people are here to offer you a mirror so that you can see who you want to be. So it's not by that saying, oh, I don't like it, you should change. No, I don't like it because I don't want to act like that. I don't want to act like that. And so people literally develop cultures around these individuations. Like we then, it's not just me, myself, but they can develop like a group, right? That says, we as a group believe in this, but we don't like what you guys are doing because we are different. And in that way, you are describing who you are as a group, right? And what is your standpoint? Maybe you didn't even know it before. So this process of dislikes and hates, it's just a process that helps you know who you are and who you want to be. So it is when two people fall in love, they're at first almost identical. There is a great deal of participation mystique. So they need hatred in order to separate themselves. After a while, the whole thing turns into wild hatred. They get resistances against one another in order to force each other off. Otherwise, they remain in a common unconsciousness which they simply cannot stand. So then later on he says, you handle these people as if they are the same, but they're not. If you handle them that way, there will be resistances because you are basically, he says, violating their individuality. Those resistances are a most useful and important instinct. You have resistances, scenes, and disappointment so that you may become finally conscious of yourself, and then hatred is no more. So it is not to fix someone. Who are these other people? Let them be, right? But it helps you show who you are and who you want to be, because that is your individuality. Next. So he has a very beautiful explanation of tattva. When I was talking about that, they knew all the Sanskrit words, they do. And so people ask him about, what is this tattva? And he gives a amazing answer that I really have not heard from anyone, or from all of my Kundalini yoga teachers, nor have I even thought of it myself as that. But he explains it beautifully. He says that, tattva is like energy, of course, right? But what we don't understand about energy is that it doesn't exist. Energy is not observed in nature. It does not exist. What exists is in nature in a natural force, like waterfall or a light or a fire or a chemical process. So what exists is a specific example of energy. There we apply the term energy, but energy in itself does not exist, despite the fact that you can buy it at electrical works. But that is merely a metaphorical energy. Energy proper is an abstraction of a physical force, a certain amount of intensity. Okay? So an intensity and certain quality, I would add. So it's exactly like the electricity we get, it's an electrical energy that came from something else. Either it came from coal that was burning, releasing fuels, or it can come from pressure, it can come from waterfall, as he says, from the sun, of course, from fire. How do we get energy in our body? From food. That is the only way to get energy into our body. But we call it energy, right? But the same way, tattva is an energy that is abstract in its abstract form. And in India, and we have 3 types of tattvas, right? We have the rajasic, tamasic, and sattvic. And there are just these 3 kinds of energy that can be felt or can be received. Yeah. Just like there is a energy of fire, that's a very different energy than the sun energy or the water energy. The most of his writing is then about chakras, and he goes into deep detail on each chakra, some of them more, some of them less. He talks a lot, extensively, about Muladhara, the root chakra, and he sees that as the conscious world we live in right now. That everything, it's like these just basic instincts that we care about money, we care about food, just taking care of surviving. And so actually this whole conscious world is in root chakra, in Muladhara. Muladhara shouldn't be underestimated because it is very, very powerful. It is the beginning of everything. Muladhara, the root chakra, is really this connection with the world. And that is very important, especially today, because many people feel disengaged from the world. They want to disappear into some kind of other fantasy world. People have been doing it before, and they've been doing it in different ways, where they were just like escaping within themselves, or like these ascetics would escape into caves, or people would, they would have different ways of escaping. But what he says, you must put the pen to the paper. You must put your signature on this life, that you have lived it. Otherwise, it's just a waste, and you go back and you have to come back again. So you must believe in this world. Make roots. Do the best you can, even if you have to believe in the most absurd things. To believe, for instance, that this world is definite, that it matters absolutely whether such and such treaty is made or not. It may be completely futile, but you have to believe in it. And you have to make it almost a religious conviction, merely for the purpose of putting your signature under the treaty, so that there is a trade there is a trace left of you. You should leave some trace in this world which notifies that you have been here, that something has happened. If nothing happens of this kind, you have not realized yourself. You see, the shoot must come out of the ground. So the root chakra is very important. You must believe in this world. You must be attached to this world. No matter how ridiculous it seems to you, no matter how unjust it seems to you, no matter how detached you feel from it, no matter what, you have to play the game in this world. And if the personal spark has never gotten into the ground, nothing will come out of it. No linga or kundalini will be there, because you are still staying in the infinity that was before. So he's saying, like, we came from infinity. We came from this vast space of the stars. And we came into this individualized body, exactly fit for whatever needs to happen in your destiny. And here, now, it is most important that you should be born. You ought to come into this world, otherwise you cannot realize the self. And the purpose of this world has been missed. Then you must simply be thrown back into the melting pot and be born again. So there is no escaping. That's why he talks so much about the root chakra. It's being here now, happy with what you have, and then finding the way. And it's only there that Kundalini can rise up and lead you into these most beautiful adventures. So now, how is this Kundalini going to get into the next level? You must follow those instincts you have. So many times in my life, I was like, why am I like so interested in this? I really wanted to just make videos. Or right now, I'm just like so drawn into these history videos about civilization and so on. And it's like almost obsessive, right? Why am I? This is very peculiar to me. I'm not resisting it or anything. I'm just following it. And let's see where it's going to lead me, right? Even this is the interest that I followed, and it's leading me here to share this with you because it's so beautiful, and I hope it's going to inspire you as well. There must be something peculiar in you, a leading spark, some incentive that forces you on through the water toward the next center. Water is the second chakra, right? So through these waters where you can actually get lost. And that is the Kundalini, something absolutely unrecognizable, which can show, say, as fear, as a neurosis, or apparently also as a vivid interest. But it must be something which is superior to your will. Otherwise, you won't go through it. So yeah, he says it can also be neurosis, right? Being afraid of something can also lead you on some very peculiar path that it's very distinct to you. And maybe you discover something amazing. And it must be superior to your will. No matter how much, you might want to be like, in my will, I want to be a rich person, because that's what everyone wants me to be. But maybe that's not really who you want to be on the inside of yourself. In your destiny, in your whatever is written in your soul, that's not what you have planned for yourself. So no matter how you're going to try to do that, you will turn back. He says, otherwise you won't go through it. You will turn back when you meet the first obstacle. As soon as you see the Leviathan, you will run away. But if that living spark, that urge, that need gets you by the neck, then you cannot turn back. You have to face the music. So this drive is what he calls Kundalini. And I really like that understanding. And even later on, you see, the Kundalini in psychological terms is that which makes you go on the greatest adventures. I say, oh damn, why did I ever try such a thing? But if I turn back, then the whole adventure goes out of my life. And my life is nothing any longer. It has lost its flavor. It is this quest that makes life livable. And this is Kundalini. This is the divine urge. For instance, when a knight in the Middle Ages did marvelous works like the great labors of Hercules, when he fought dragons and liberated virgins, it was all for his lady. She was Kundalini. And so on. You know, these great adventures that we even now see in many movies. You can kind of see how actually almost every movie is like there is a little spark, right? Maybe there is something that once happened to you, and then that takes you, if you follow it, it takes you on this incredible adventure that it's not going to be easy or beautiful, that no one says that. For you, it's going to be very fulfilling. And that is what is the most important. If you just follow like someone else's lifestyle, like, oh, you know, I want to be a travel photographer, what a great job, you know, because you've seen it in someone, but you don't have that spark, that's not what's leading you, you're going to turn the first time when you go somewhere and your stuff's going to get stolen or your film's going to be burned or something like that, right? You're just going to be like, hey, not for me. Oh, that wasn't for me, right? It wasn't for you, not because there was an obstacle, because you're going to have obstacles everywhere. And that is also a big mistake that many self-help gurus are telling you, is that when you are on the right path, everything is easy. No, no, no. It's not easy. It just seems like that because you are willing to go through that problem. You are willing to go through. And sometimes, even if it's not easy, things are going to go horrible. And you're going to have to struggle, but you will do it because there is no other way for you anymore. And you will always be sort of taken care of. So please put that pen to the paper, show up in this world, get your signature on this life, and I can't wait to see what we all create together. Satnam.